Certainly, here's an expanded version of the depth of your vulnerabilities in about 600 words. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, but that perception is one of the greatest misconceptions we face as women. It's easy to think that by exposing our vulnerabilities, we allow ourselves to be judged, misunderstood, or even taken advantage of. But let me tell you, vulnerability is not a sign of fragility. It is a powerful expression of our humanity, our capacity to feel, and our strength to endure. However, there is a fine line between being open and oversharing. It's important to recognize that while vulnerability can be a source of connection, it can also be a space where we need to protect ourselves, especially in relationships with others, including men. When we talk about vulnerability, we must acknowledge that it's not just about emotional struggles or moments of weakness. It also encompasses our fears, our dreams, and our deepest hopes for the future. We are constantly carrying layers of life's experiences, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And while it's important to have people we trust with whom we can share our feelings and struggles, we must also recognize that not everyone is deserving of that depth. Opening up to someone should feel safe, not like a burden or a plea for sympathy. Vulnerability should never feel like something you have to apologize for. As women, we often find ourselves in situations where we feel compelled to be open about our struggles in order to be understood. We may think that by revealing our vulnerabilities, we will gain empathy, connection, or a sense of support. But the truth is, the moment we expose too much, especially to someone who isn't prepared to handle it with the care and respect it deserves, we risk giving away a piece of ourselves that we may not be able to retrieve. Once it's out in the open, there's no going back. Imagine sharing your fears or insecurities with someone, thinking that it will lead to greater understanding, only to realize later that your openness has been misused. Whether it's your struggles with self-doubt, your past heartbreaks, or your ongoing challenges, these aspects of vulnerability are delicate. They reveal your inner world, your heart, and your soul. And while there is absolutely nothing wrong with feeling vulnerable, it's important to remember that your emotional well-being and your sense of safety should always come first. We need to understand that we don't owe anyone our deepest vulnerabilities unless we feel completely safe and comfortable in doing so. And even then, it's important to assess whether the person you're sharing with is capable of offering the emotional maturity and support you deserve. Not everyone is equipped to handle the weight of your vulnerabilities with care. Some may take advantage of it, others may not know how to respond, and some might even dismiss it altogether. Think about how you feel when you reveal something deeply personal, only to have it dismissed or belittled. It's painful, and it's a violation of your trust. As women, we often feel the pressure to be everything to everyone, to be strong, independent, and capable at all times. But this pressure doesn't mean we should reveal every crack, every fear, or every past hurt. Instead, it's essential to cultivate a sense of self-awareness about what is worth sharing and when. There is no rush to reveal your most vulnerable parts. They are precious and should be handled with care. Vulnerability isn't something you should feel obligated to expose just because others expect it. In fact, learning to protect your emotional boundaries is an important aspect of self-care. It's not about hiding who you are or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about recognizing that you have the power to control how much of yourself you share and with whom. You don't need to pour out your soul to someone who hasn't earned the privilege of hearing it. At the end of the day, vulnerability is a strength when it is shared with the right person in the right time and in the right way. But it should never feel like a weakness or a tool for gaining approval. Protecting the depth of your vulnerabilities allows you to maintain your emotional integrity and ensures that when you do open up, it's a genuine exchange built on trust, respect, and mutual care. You are not defined by your vulnerabilities, but by how you rise above them. So remember, your emotional depth is yours to protect, and you have every right to decide how much of it you reveal. When we think about our dreams, we often picture them as these lofty, far-off desires that we can only whisper about when the world is quiet. For women, especially, these dreams can sometimes feel intimidating, even to ourselves. Society tells us we can have it all, but at the same time, it subtly conditions us to hold back, to downplay our aspirations, and to present a version of our ambitions that feels acceptable to others. But here's the truth: we as women have the right to dream without limits, and there is immense power in doing so. However, there are times when revealing the full extent of our dreams to others, especially to those who might not understand or appreciate them, can hinder rather than help us. Your dreams are not just simple goals or wishful thinking. They are the essence of who you are and who you want to become. They're your vision for a future that is uniquely yours. Dreams are personal, deeply tied to your values, passions, and aspirations. They speak to the heart of what you hope to achieve in this world. Whether it's a career you want to build, an artistic endeavor you wish to pursue, or a lifestyle you want to lead, these dreams define the path you want to walk, and they deserve to be nurtured with care. But sometimes sharing the full extent of those dreams can feel like a vulnerability that leaves us exposed to the opinions, doubts, and judgments of others. There's a tendency, especially for women, to feel as though we need to shrink our dreams to fit within the confines of what others expect of us. We're conditioned to downplay our aspirations, especially when they challenge the status quo. We're told to be realistic, to stay humble, and to focus on what others have already achieved. But who's to say that your dreams are any less valid, any less achievable, or any less worthy of pursuit? When we reveal the full extent of our dreams, we are not merely exposing an idea, but rather the very core of our identity and the driving force behind our actions. It's a vulnerable act that requires confidence, self-belief, and an understanding of our own worth. Yet, when we share our dreams with others, especially with those who may not understand or support them, we risk planting seeds of doubt. Sometimes people in our lives may not be ready to support the magnitude of our vision. Their reactions may come from a place of concern, but that concern can often manifest in ways that undermine our belief in ourselves. A well-meaning friend may question the practicality of your dream, or a family member might suggest you aim for something more reasonable. These opinions, though they may come from a place of care, can inadvertently discourage us from dreaming as big as we should. Moreover, the world is full of people who might dismiss your dreams simply because they don't understand them. Your aspirations are yours alone, and they may not always fit into the mold of conventional success or societal expectations. But that's precisely what makes them powerful. Your dreams are an expression of your individuality and your unique vision for your life. They should not be confined by the limitations imposed by others. The act of revealing your dreams to those who don't believe in them can often lead to unnecessary negativity that weighs you down. And yet, we are told to share, to open up, to seek validation. It's easy to feel the pressure to share every detail, to get approval, or to seek encouragement. But in doing so, we sometimes expose ourselves to unnecessary risks. Not everyone is equipped to understand the depths of our aspirations or the dedication required to bring them to life. Some people might not see the value in your dreams because they are too focused on their own definitions of success, or because they've never dared to dream as boldly as you have. The beauty of dreaming big, however, lies in the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that your vision is yours alone. You don't have to explain, justify the magnitude of your dreams to anyone. The world doesn't need to understand your vision for it to be valid. It only needs you to believe in it. And remember, your dreams don't need to be shared in their entirety at all times. It's okay to keep parts of your vision to yourself, to protect the sacred space where your dreams take shape and evolve. There's power in keeping some of your aspirations private, because that space is where you build your foundation. Your dreams are an ever-evolving force, one that requires room to grow, shift, and adjust without the influence of outside opinions. At the end of the day, your dreams are what fuel you. They are what keep you going when the road gets tough, what ignite your passion, and what push you forward. So don't be afraid to keep them close to your heart until the time is right to share them. When you do choose to share, do so with those who understand and support your vision. And when it's just you and your dreams, remember that there is no limit to what you can achieve. The full extent of your dreams is yours to define, shape, and pursue, regardless of anyone else's opinion. Love is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It shapes us, challenges us, and gives us a sense of purpose. As women, we are often deeply connected to the people we love, whether it's our family, friends, partners, or communities. But here's the thing, while love is beautiful and fulfilling, it can also be deeply personal, and the depth of our love and devotion should never be revealed just for the sake of validation or approval from others. Sometimes we share too much of our love, believing that it will prove our commitment or devotion, but the truth is the depth of your love should remain sacred, reserved for those who truly understand and cherish it. The love we offer is not something that should be exploited, misused, or taken for granted. It's often a part of who we are, woven into the very fabric of our being. But what many people don't realize is that love, particularly for women, can sometimes become a bargaining chip. We live in a world where affection, devotion, and love are often used to measure our worth, and the more we give, the more we're expected to prove. The problem arises when love is seen as something to be given freely, without boundaries, or as a means to earn approval, affection, or validation from others. When we reveal the full depth of our love too easily or too soon, we risk diluting its true power and meaning. It's not about withholding love or becoming distant. On the contrary, it's about understanding that love, especially deep love, is not something that should be constantly on display for the world to see. True love doesn't need to be broadcasted to validate its existence. The most profound expressions of love are often the quietest, the unspoken acts, the understanding looks, the gestures that don't require acknowledgement. When love is shared too openly or too frequently, it can lose some of its magic, its mystery, and its strength. Love is something that, at its core, should be shared with those who appreciate its depth, its complexity, and its power. The depth of your love is not something that should be demanded, expected, or even asked for. It is something that you choose to offer when you feel safe, when you feel understood, and when you feel like that love will be cherished in return. Too often, women are conditioned to give more than they receive, to pour their hearts out without questioning whether their devotion is truly valued. The depth of your love should not be used to fill a void or to seek validation from others. It should come from a place of self-awareness and self-respect, knowing that your love is valuable and deserving of reciprocity and respect. When you love deeply, you become vulnerable, but that vulnerability is not an invitation to have your heart exploited. The people who are worthy of your love should see it as a gift, not as something to be taken for granted or used for their own gain. Your devotion should not be a tool for control, manipulation, or expectation. Love should flow freely, but it should also be protected. When we share the fullness of our love too easily, it can sometimes be misunderstood or taken advantage of. Not everyone is equipped to handle that kind of devotion with the care it deserves, and sometimes that leads to hurt, disappointment, or even heartbreak. One of the most important aspects of love is knowing when to hold back, when to protect the most vulnerable parts of your heart, and when to share those parts with someone who is ready to honor them. Love, especially deep love, requires trust. It requires the willingness to be vulnerable, but also the wisdom to know when to safeguard your heart. Just because you feel love does not mean you have to reveal every aspect of that love. There is strength in keeping certain aspects of your affection to yourself, knowing that you have control over how and when it is shared. You should never feel pressured to prove the depth of your love through grand gestures, constant displays of affection, or by making others constantly aware of how deeply you care. What's more, it's important to realize that love is not a transaction. When we reveal too much of our devotion, we sometimes risk making love seem like something that needs to be constantly proved. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if we give more, we will receive more in return. But the truth is, love is not a currency. It is not about keeping score or offering more than what is reciprocated. True love is about balance, understanding, and respect. The depth of your love should never be measured in how much you give or how much you expect to get in return. At its core, love is sacred. It's a beautiful, transformative experience, but it should never be something that you feel obligated to explain or prove. The depth of your devotion is yours to share as you see fit, but it should always be with the understanding that your love is a powerful gift that deserves to be treated with respect and reverence. It is not for anyone to take lightly or exploit. The most profound love is often the quietest, the most steady, and the most unshakable. It doesn't need to be revealed in its entirety to prove its existence. It's felt in the way we act, in how we show up for the ones we love, and in the moments that we choose to remain true to our hearts, even when the world around us may not understand. Love is a reflection of who we are, and it should always be a source of strength, not vulnerability. Protect it, cherish it, and know that you have every right to decide how much of it you share. When it comes to finances, women often find themselves walking a fine line between independence and societal expectations. We are told to be financially savvy, to plan for the future, and to live within our means. Yet, we are also faced with the challenge of balancing these expectations with the pressure to conform to traditional roles or norms that may not align with our values or ambitions. One of the most powerful aspects of financial independence is the ability to keep your financial secrets, those aspects of your financial life that are personal, sacred, and entirely your own. The depth of your financial knowledge and control should not be something you feel compelled to reveal to anyone, especially if the other party does not have a clear understanding or respect for your autonomy. Your financial world is incredibly personal. It's not something to be handed over for inspection or judgment just because others may ask. We live in a society where money is often seen as a way to measure success, security, and even self-worth. But the truth is, your financial decisions, plans, and struggles are yours to navigate. What you choose to share about your finances should always be a conscious decision made out of necessity or trust, not because you feel you need to justify your choices. We often find ourselves explaining our financial situations to others, especially in romantic relationships or within family dynamics, because of the pressure to conform to certain expectations. But in doing so, we risk opening ourselves up to judgment, unsolicited advice, and even manipulation. Financial transparency can be a powerful tool in relationships, but it must come with the understanding that both parties have equal respect for each other's autonomy. The decisions you make regarding your finances reflect your values, goals, and priorities. They are an integral part of your identity, and they should not be treated as bargaining chips or sources of validation for others. When you share your financial details with someone, it is crucial to consider how that information will be received and whether the person you're sharing it with will treat it with the same level of respect that you do. There is a difference between offering transparency and oversharing. Moreover, your financial independence is one of the most empowering aspects of your life. It's an expression of your intelligence, your hard work, and your ability to plan and execute. When you're able to stand on your own 2 feet financially, you build a sense of security and self-confidence that is not reliant on anyone else's approval or validation. This independence should never be compromised or diminished by the need to explain or justify your financial choices to anyone. Your financial secrets, your savings, investments, and the way you manage your wealth are not for anyone's scrutiny unless you choose to share them. There is a profound strength in keeping certain financial matters private, especially when sharing them could lead to unnecessary complications or misunderstandings. It's also important to recognize that financial independence can sometimes be seen as a threat in relationships. Some people might feel uncomfortable or insecure if they sense that you are financially secure on your own. In these cases, revealing too much of your financial situation could lead to feelings of envy, competition, or even control. Your ability to protect your financial boundaries ensures that your independence remains intact. When you share your financial world with someone, make sure you're doing so from a place of mutual trust and respect, not out of a need for validation or to please someone else. Additionally, there is a growing trend of women feeling compelled to disclose their financial status, especially in the context of romantic relationships. While it's important to have open conversations about finances with a partner, this should not come at the cost of losing your sense of autonomy or security. No one should ever feel the need to disclose every detail of their financial life to maintain a relationship or to prove their worth. Relationships should not be based on financial status, and it is essential that you feel comfortable keeping aspects of your financial world private if that is what feels right for you. The ability to protect your financial secrets is a form of empowerment. It is about having control over your financial narrative and the freedom to make decisions that align with your personal goals and values. You do not need to share every detail of your financial situation to prove that you are capable, successful, or deserving of respect. Your financial autonomy is your strength, and it is a reflection of your ability to take charge of your own destiny. When you keep certain financial matters private, you maintain control over how you present yourself and ensure that your worth is not measured by the balance in your bank account or the material possessions you own. At the end of the day, your financial decisions are an extension of your independence and your ability to live life on your own terms. There is no obligation to reveal the intricacies of your financial life to anyone unless it is necessary or you choose to do so. Protecting your financial secrets is not about hiding or deceiving. It's about preserving your power, your peace of mind, and your ability to make decisions without the influence of others. The more you value and protect your financial independence, the more empowered you will feel in all aspects of your life. You have every right to decide how much of your financial world you share and with whom, and doing so allows you to maintain control over your own narrative. Our past is a collection of experiences, memories, and moments that have shaped who we are today. It's natural to reflect on our past, but there is wisdom in understanding that some parts of it should remain protected and shared only with those who truly understand and respect the depth of what we've gone through. While it's important to be open and honest about our history, there is a fine line between sharing aspects of our past that help others understand us better and revealing every detail to people who may not handle it with the care and respect it deserves. Our past includes a multitude of experiences, both the good and the bad, that have contributed to our growth and development. These experiences, particularly the difficult or painful ones, shape how we interact with the world, how we view ourselves, and how we approach our relationships. However, sharing these parts of ourselves too freely can leave us feeling exposed and vulnerable, especially when they are met with judgment, misunderstanding, or unsolicited advice. The depth of our personal history is ours to decide how much we want to share, and it should never be a source of guilt or shame. At the same time, the stories of our past don't need to be shared in excessive detail unless we feel comfortable doing so with someone who is genuinely deserving of that trust. When we open up about our past, especially the more difficult aspects, it can be incredibly therapeutic. It can provide a sense of release, help us heal, and even lead to deeper connections with others who may have had similar experiences. But not everyone is ready to handle the weight of your past, and not everyone is worthy of having access to it. There's a level of emotional intelligence and empathy required to listen without judgment, to offer support without minimizing, and to respect the significance of those past experiences without trivializing them. The reality is that sharing too much of your past with someone who hasn't earned the privilege of hearing it can lead to hurt, disappointment, or a feeling of being misunderstood. Some parts of your past may be too personal or painful to share, and that's perfectly okay. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the choices you made or the things that happened to you. The experiences that have shaped your character, whether they are moments of triumph or times of hardship, belong to you. They are an integral part of who you are, but they do not define you in their entirety. They are just pieces of the bigger picture of your life. When we reveal too much of our past, especially to people who may not have the maturity to handle it, we risk allowing those parts of our story to become the focus of our identity. Our worth is not defined by the things we've been through, but by how we've risen from them and how we choose to move forward. Moreover, the details of our past may not always serve the purpose of helping others understand us better. Sometimes excessive detail can overwhelm or burden someone who may not be equipped to process the depth of what we've gone through. In relationships, particularly in the early stages, there's no need to share every detail of your past history. Revealing too much can create an imbalance where the other person feels obligated to respond in a certain way or may even begin to define you by those past experiences. Your history is only one part of your story. It doesn't need to dominate every conversation or interaction. The decision to open up about your past should always come from a place of self-awareness and intention. It's important to consider why you want to share these details and what you hope to gain from doing so. Are you looking for validation, empathy, or support, or are you simply sharing to build a deeper connection with someone? Regardless of the reason, it's crucial to gauge whether the person you're confiding in has the capacity to listen without judgment, to offer the support you need, and to respect your boundaries. If not, it might be best to keep certain aspects of your history private. Furthermore, the excessive sharing of your past can sometimes create a narrative where you feel trapped in your own history. The more you repeat the details of what has happened, the more you risk reliving those moments, often without the emotional distance needed for healing. Constantly reliving the past can prevent you from fully embracing the present or moving forward in your life. It's essential to recognize when the past no longer needs to be spoken about and when it's time to focus on the present moment and the future that you're building. In the end, your past is yours to keep or share as you see fit. You do not need to justify your choices, your mistakes, or your experiences to anyone. Your life story is uniquely yours, and it's up to you to decide how much of it you wish to reveal. It's perfectly fine to share certain parts of your past with those who have earned your trust, but excessive detail is not necessary for others to understand you or appreciate who you are. Protecting your past and only sharing it in a way that feels right for you allows you to maintain control over your narrative and ensures that your identity is not reduced to a series of events or experiences. You are more than your history, you are the person you've become because of it, and that is something truly worth celebrating. The need for validation is a deeply human experience, something that we all encounter at different points in our lives. It's natural to want recognition, to desire affirmation, and to seek approval from others. Whether it's in our personal relationships, our work life, or in social circles, we often find ourselves looking for reassurance that we are seen, heard, and valued. But when we allow this need for validation to dominate our lives, it can become a limiting factor that prevents us from truly embracing our own worth. The truth is, the need for external validation can be a double-edged sword. While it can provide temporary comfort, relying too much on it can leave us feeling dependent on others' opinions, and ultimately, it can hinder our growth, self-acceptance, and peace of mind. The need for validation stems from a variety of sources. We are conditioned by society, family, and relationships to seek approval from others. From a young age, we are taught to meet certain expectations to feel loved and accepted. As we grow older, these needs become more complex, rooted in our desires for success, acknowledgement, and recognition in various aspects of our lives. We may seek validation through praise, awards, likes on social media, or even through the approval of friends and loved ones. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our self-worth is tied to how others perceive us. However, the truth is that when we become too reliant on external validation, we place our happiness and sense of self into the hands of others. While it's perfectly normal to want recognition for our efforts, the problem arises when we let this desire for validation define our actions and self-esteem. Validation from others can be fleeting. It's often tied to external circumstances such as achieving a goal, meeting a standard, or receiving praise for something we've done. But what happens when that validation is no longer forthcoming, or when we don't meet the expectations placed upon us? If our sense of worth is rooted in these external sources, we may feel inadequate, unworthy, or invisible when validation is withheld or when we fail to meet expectations. What's more, the pursuit of validation can distract us from the most important source of self-worth, our internal validation. When we look outward for affirmation, we may lose touch with our own inner compass, the one that tells us who we are and what we truly value. We may begin to make decisions based on what will earn the approval of others, rather than what aligns with our true desires and goals. This constant striving for approval can lead to self-doubt and insecurity as we continually search for something outside of ourselves to affirm our worth. We may start questioning our own abilities, opinions, and values simply because they don't align with what others think or expect of us. What is often forgotten in the pursuit of validation is that no one else can truly define your worth. Other people may offer praise or recognition, but those are just external opinions that do not reflect the full depth of who you are. Your worth is intrinsic. It comes from within. It's shaped by your values, your actions, your self-awareness, and your ability to be authentic. The more we seek validation from others, the more we distance ourselves from the truth of our own worth. We may become so focused on meeting others' expectations that we forget to honor our own voice and truth. Learning to validate yourself is key to breaking free from the cycle of seeking approval from others. Self-validation involves recognizing and appreciating your own efforts, acknowledging your strengths, and accepting your flaws without needing external recognition to confirm your worth. It's about trusting yourself and your instincts even when others may not understand or approve of your choices. When you validate yourself, you give yourself permission to exist fully and authentically without relying on external factors to define who you are. Self-validation also leads to greater resilience. When you no longer rely on others for your sense of worth, you become less affected by criticism, rejection, or negative feedback. You develop a stronger sense of inner security, and you are able to pursue your goals and desires with more confidence, regardless of whether others approve. This doesn't mean you completely disregard feedback or that you no longer value the opinions of others. It simply means that you recognize that your worth is not contingent upon anyone else's approval. Moreover, self-validation allows you to set boundaries and make decisions that align with your true desires. You can pursue the things that bring you joy and fulfillment without worrying about whether they fit into the expectations of others. It allows you to embrace your uniqueness and appreciate your journey without feeling the need to compare yourself to others or seek constant reassurance. It's important to acknowledge that the need for validation is not inherently wrong. It's natural to want to feel appreciated and seen. However, it becomes problematic when it dictates your actions, decisions, and sense of self-worth. Striking a balance between seeking validation and learning to validate yourself is the key. The more you practice self-validation, the less you'll feel the need to rely on others for approval. You'll find greater peace in knowing that your worth is not determined by outside forces, but by the love, respect, and acceptance you give yourself. True validation comes from within, and it's in recognizing and nurturing that internal sense of worth that you can truly thrive.